Single issue voting is very controversial. And in fact, in my book, I quote a current senator of the United States. I won't mention his name, but he's from a state that begins with A. And this senator said he was really reprimanding or discrediting people who are otherwise intelligent but only vote for a single issue. All right? Some of you know that man. He's not one of my favorite politicians, but he is discrediting anybody who will vote for a single issue, such as pro-life, that's not it. Now, Father Pavone made a very good statement that we're really coming down to the end of abortion. We're going to win this. And even in Oregon is one of the most liberal states out of the 50. I've been in many of them. I lived in many of them, and it is way out there on the left coast, okay? Way left. If you look at the statistics on abortion in Oregon, I got to encourage you guys that in 1968, there were a few hundred, went up to 1,000 the next year. And if you watch the curve, it goes up till the 70s, 74, 75, and it hits 10,000. Then it goes up in the 90s to 14,000 a year. 14,000 abortions in Oregon alone, all right? But guess what's happened in the last 4 years? That curve has shifted because we're winning the debate. We're winning and the abortions are coming down. Who knows how many abortions were done last year in Oregon? Now this isn't our statistics, this is the Public Health Service.
4,000.
There's about 8,033 abortions, okay, in Oregon in 2013. 14,000 to 8,000 just in about 5 years. That is a huge, and it's not just a boom. It's a slow progression down where we are winning the debate for pro-life. Yes, Joan.
Actually, our rate of abortion in Oregon is lower than the national rate.
Yep. Per persons, yes. Yes, objectively. So we are winning that debate with the young people. I mean, it's not the old, I mean, if you're in your 80s, you're not getting abortions, right? You can't get pregnant anymore that way. Unless it's a miracle like Sarah, but we're not going to go there. So basically, you guys are doing the job in Oregon, getting the word out, and people are turning their eyes toward pro-life and realizing that's the priority, all right? So that's a very encouraging thing that abortion killing is coming to an end, and it is going to end. We're going to win it. It just takes perseverance. So on single-issue voting, a number of questions I want to ask. Is it, as this senator alluded, is it simplistic? Do you have to be naive and stupid to be a single-issue voter? Or is it a rational decision? Is this something that we should think about carefully and come to a rational decision? Is it naive or is it defensible? Can we actually defend a single-issue voting topic? And what about principles or priorities? I've met people that say, I am always only going to vote for a 100% pro-life candidate. Always and only. Is that the right principle? Or are there other priorities we should consider? How pro-life must a candidate be? Do you have to be 100% pro-life? No exception for abortion and rape? Or can we vote for somebody that's not 100%? And then, is voting pro-choice always a sin? Can you actually vote for a pro-choice candidate? Is there ever a circumstance where that could be a reasonable thing to do? We're going to ask some tough questions here and see, and you guys are going to interact. This is the fun part. I'm not going to get up here and give a speech. You guys are going to have to interact and say what you think. Yes?
Well, a lot of times you're in a position where you're voting for the lesser of two evils.
Yep.
But
Yes.
you don't have a choice.
Yes.
Yep. We're going to discuss that. Exactly. That's right, Dwayne. Okay, so let's get started here. Simplistic or rational, naive or defensible. Now, I need either a married couple or two good friends to help out. You won't get hurt. You won't get embarrassed. You don't have to say anything. You just have to stand up here, okay? All right, here we go.
Two Marys.
Mary and Mary. I like it. Okay, and then I need one more person. Okay, Molly, great. All right, so we'll give Mary that one. Okay, and we'll give the other Mary that one. And Molly will make the decision. Okay, now here's the situation. If you vote for this Mary, she's going to push the button, the red button, and the whole world explodes. Okay? The end of the world. She's crazy. Okay? This Mary's crazy. Now, if you vote for this Mary, you get $1 million a year. You get the nicest wardrobe you ever want,
This
a
is
new
a
car,
setup
a
right
new
now.
car every month.
Yeah.
You get everything you've ever dreamed of having. Everything. You can have it. All right?
I have horns.
So,
Yeah, you do.
everything. So you have to decide which one. Now, the only issue here is blowing up the world, right? She's a single issue,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Single issue.
okay.
She's not. So, who are you going to vote? I mean, which one are you going to vote for?
Oh, just like that?
Just like that.
That's all the information?
That's
I
all the
have?
information you have.
So if I vote her, that's the end of the world, and if I
That's
vote
right.
for her,
Yeah,
I
right.
make
Get everything.
Yeah, I'll go this way.
Very good. That's not a tough choice, is it?
Huh,
Was that a difficult choice?
was a no-brainer.
Why is that not a difficult choice?
Because it profits you.
All or
It
nothing.
profits me, and nobody profits by this one. Nobody
Okay.
profits.
Nobody profits. Exactly. So, this is a single issue, right?
Yeah.
Blowing up the world. If you have all of these things, and then she blows up the world, what good does this do you?
Right,
Doesn't do anything, right?
right,
Doesn't do any good at all.
Right.
If you don't have life,
right.
nothing else matters.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, no.
You don't have life, nothing else matters.
Okay.
That's what Father Pavone was saying this morning, right?
Yeah.
It's the right to life that's the issue. If you don't have that, you don't have anything else, right? So was that a difficult decision?
Nope.
No. Okay, Molly, hit the button.
That was easy.
Okay, all right. It really wasn't that tough. Okay, good. All right. So that's pretty simplistic. Do we have any sisters? I had sisters the last session here. Do you have any sisters or married couple? It really helps if it's a married couple now, or our sisters, or so really close friends. We'll take we have to use the Marys again. We will. Anybody else? Nobody else wants to do it. Okay, Marys and Molly, come back up again. Let's do it again. All right. Okay. You get we're trade off here, so it's not quite so. Okay. Right here. Okay. And I need one more person. One more volunteer. Okay. Come up one, Wayne. So Wayne, what you're going to do is you're going to need to hold these fingers down like this, that index finger out and the thumb up, and put it right here. Okay, you got that?
Yep.
You can do that? Great, good job. All right, now Molly, what we're going to do now is the stakes aren't so high. We're not going to blow up the world. The whole world's not going to die. We're just going to have this Mary give you everything you want. Same thing, millions of dollars every year, new car, wardrobe, everything you want. Or your very good friend Mary here, if you vote for this gentleman, Wayne, she's going to die.
She's gonna
Boom,
die.
gone. Just one person.
Okay.
Just one person.
Just one person.
Just one person. All right? So, what are you going to do? You're going to get all this, or are you going to, all you have to do is kill one person.
So it's just.
And you're not actually killing her, you're just voting for him who's going to kill her.
Yeah.
You're not voting to kill her. You're only voting to get what you want, and you're indirectly killing her. You're not responsible. Okay.
So if I don't.
He's actually responsible for killing her, you're not.
So if I don't vote for her, she gets to live.
If you vote for her, you get everything.
I get everything, but if I don't vote for her,
That's right.
she
right.
gets to live.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
if you vote for him,
Yeah.
Right?
No,
You get
I just-
if you vote for him, you get everything you want. You can
That's
still get
right.
everything you want,
But if
but
I-
she dies.
But she dies.
Yeah.
And if,
What are you going to do?
You're going to save me.
Say goodbye.
what's in it for me, Mary?
It's only one life.
Look at over here.
It's only one life.
Buy a dinner. Save me.
Oh, is a glass of wine cool? with
Oh,
it?
you got that.
That's bribery.
Okay, she's
I'll shoot
not
her
quite
anyway.
getting it.
No,
Okay, is it
I-
difficult? I mean, is it a difficult decision? I mean,
it's
do you
not.
want to
I
kill her
mean-
to get everything you want, or?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay,
So you're going to vote to save her life.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Well, that's only a single issue, though.
I-
You're just going to, all this good stuff, all these wonderful things you could do, and you're just going to do a single issue? All right, good job. You may sit down. Okay, so, Molly, you have to push the button. Was that a difficult choice?
Well, no.
That was was easy.
Yes.
I mean, she did the right thing. I mean, she saved her life. It was easy. It wasn't really that difficult a choice.
Because I didn't have any of that stuff in the beginning.
That's right. Okay, but you could have had
You
it.
got a free dinner.
All right, so I would point out that single issue voting is not, what did we prove by that point? Single issue voting is not simplistic. It's not simple-minded, it's not naive. In fact, sometimes single issue voting is the only rational choice. Anybody that's rational would have made the same choice that Molly made there. Save the world, save Mary's life. That's the rational choice, and it's a defensible choice. We can defend that choice to vote based upon morality, right? God's priority of saving human life. Now, in this book, I point out that saving human life is God's priority. If you look at the parable of the Good Samaritan in the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke, what happens? The man says, well, who is my neighbor? What does Jesus say? Guy's walking down the road, he gets beat up, he's half dead. The Greek and the Latin, half dead. He's going to die if somebody doesn't do something. And what happens? Some religious people walk by. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that Jesus said they were religious people, okay? A lot of religious people. But who saved his life? The Samaritan. Yeah, the despised Samaritan saved his life. And so Jesus asked the man, which of these was neighbor? And who was neighbor? And why was he a neighbor? He saved his life, saved his physical life. That's all he did, right? That is who is a neighbor. So I would suggest to you that Jesus' priority is to save physical life. That's the priority. That is an emphasis in Scripture, is saving life. What was God's first commandment after the flood? Had to do with what?
Be fruitful and multiply.
After the flood. Violence was on the face of the earth, and the flood came to wipe out the violence.
Be fruitful and multiply.
But after the flood, that's in the Genesis, in the flood, what was the first one?
Be fruitful and multiply.
You'll know more?
Yeah, you're close.
Do it again.
You're close. If any man sheds a man's life, then he forfeits his own. It was on don't murder. God was sick of the murders and the violence going on against people, against one another in the world. That was his priority. That's why, or at least one of the reasons, he wiped it out. So that's there. Okay, so it's not simplistic or naive. Now let's go to principles or priorities. In the book, I talk about a woman I know who said, I will never vote for anybody that's not 100% pro-life. You have to be 100% or I'm not going to vote for you. Now, I thought that was pretty reasonable at the time, but as I thought about it, I said, wait a minute. Maybe that's not right. Maybe there's some issues here. And we actually had a president who was 99% pro-life, right? He said, everything except rape and incest. I can't go there, but I will save all the other babies. Now, what percentage of babies are aborted for rape or incest? Yes, very, very small, 1% max. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It's so exceedingly rare. So if you say, I'm not going to vote for anybody except a candidate that's 100%, what are we doing? Well, we're letting 99% of them die. So here's my analogy. If I've got a house over here, and there are 10 people in that house that is burning down, they're all going to die, right? They're all going to die if I don't save them. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I cannot save all 10, therefore, I'm just not going to save any. If they're all got to be saved or none are going to be saved, right? Does that make sense?
No.
Absolutely it doesn't make sense. What am I going to do? I'm going to haul over there and I'm going to save as many people in that house, burning house, as I can. I know I can't. 10 people in a burning, I'll be overcome with smoke. I know I can't save all of them, but I'm going to save as many as I can. So that's the priority, to save as many lives as possible. So my argument to this woman finally was, well, I agree that abortion for rape and incest is wrong. You can't defend it. It's not logical. But I will vote for a candidate who's saying 99% of them I can save, because I am saving millions of lives by doing that. Now, we just got to convince him that he's wrong on the other 1%, right? But we can do that, and I can in good conscience vote for that person because I'm saving as many as I can out of that burning building. I'm saving 9 out of the 10. 9 out of the 10 I can save by voting that way. Does that make sense? You understand that burning house analogy and what I'm doing there?
Gail
Right.
uses that all the time.
Does she? Did I get that from you or you did get that from me?
I got it from him. He was my teacher long ago.
Okay. All right. I can't remember. You get older, you can't remember things, you know. So, all right. So that's the analogy there. Now let's go to a little bit more difficult thing and say, here's a person who is pro-life for, you know, everything except rape or incest. And here is a candidate who's 100% rape and incest. We're not even going to do abortions for that. But this person over here has no chance of being elected. No chance. Sort of like a president or a presidential candidate that keeps running every presidential election and loses. I'm not going to mention any names, but you know the guy. He keeps running and running and running, and you know he's going to lose. He knows he's going to. Everybody knows he's going to lose, but he's running on principle. Oh, I'm right. I've got the right idea.
Ross Perot.
That was one of them. You're right. There are others who keep running and running and running.
Name's not Ralph, is it?
It could be Ralph, yes. You know these guys are going to lose, and yet people keep throwing their money and time and efforts, and they know they're going to lose. I mean, why? Why do they do that? Yeah, they're doing it on principle. And I would say they're not just doing it, they're a prisoner of principle. Their principle has imprisoned them where they can do absolutely no good at all. They are in fact wasting their time, money, and resources by what they're doing because they're a prisoner of principle. Does that make sense? That doesn't work. We have to be realistic. So if I've got a candidate who's 90%, 99% on board, and I've got 100% on board, and this person just cannot get elected, how am I going to vote? I'm going to vote with the one that I know is going to get elected and save more lives. It's all about saving more lives. It's just not that difficult, you know?
That was easy.
Okay? That's what we do. All right, so let's go to another scenario. In fact, here's a really funny one. Jeff, who was in the prior session, said that down in the Southern Oregon area, he's got a very interesting situation because he says, I'm going to vote priority of life, and he said God called his bluff. The reason God called his bluff is because of the situation. He has 2 pro-choice to kill baby Republicans and 1 pro-life Democrat who's a felon, ex-felon. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so you got 2 pro-choice to kill baby Republicans, and you got 1 pro-life Democrat, but he's an ex-felon. And he got out for, it wasn't murder or anything, it was, anyway, he was drunk and did an abuse thing, physical abuse to somebody, and then tried to mess with a witness. I said, he'll make a good politician, right? So, what do you think? I mean, what do you do in that scenario?
You still gotta choose life.
It's about choose life. Okay?
You pray about it.
You pray about it?
No, you've got him in the eyesight so everybody can watch him, see, so he can't do as much.
There you go. I like that. He's in the public eye. Now you can, I won't say that. Get in trouble.
But what about when you're in the legislature, that pro-life Democrat will caucus with the Democrats who vote for death?
Maybe, it depends.
And that's how they do the majority
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. The question is, how much character did the person have? Well, he's a felon. Yeah. Can we trust him?
That would be a question to ask
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen if you get in the Democratic caucus and they say, hey, they either vote with us, you know, to kill babies, or you know, you're going to get punished.
But
So-
then the speaker, because they have more Democrats.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any difference if that guy actually votes pro-life. We're doing our job, right? We're putting in people in office that are pro-life.
But that speaker is the one that puts the committee.
Yeah. I understand. But that doesn't make any difference if the Democrat is going to still vote pro-life regardless of what happens to him. You got to have committed people. Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
in that case, there's integrities involved, so
Yep.
then you got
Yes.
the pro-life and the integrity.
Yep.
Then it becomes between that's not whether they're, something
Right.
else. Then you,
Okay?
Yeah,
If
but
you've
he's
got
not-
2 people you know are going to kill babies, 100% guaranteed they're going to kill the babies. And you got one guy that's saying, I'm not going to kill babies.
And that's not a popular
Yeah.
view.
No.
So he's not doing it to gain more votes.
Exactly.
So he's got to
The,
have some integrity.
the story is that he actually was converted in prison and became a Christian in prison and has changed his life. All right? Now what do you think?
I'm voting for the felon.
Okay, how many people are going to vote for the 2 pro-choice to kill baby Republicans? Nobody wants to vote for them. How many people are going to vote? You want to talk to them?
Yeah.
I mean, that would obviously be ideal. We can't do it. How many people are going to vote for the pro-life Democrat felon? A lot of people. Wow. How many people are going to stay home?
abstain.
Okay. Do you? What? What's the independent like? Yeah. There you go. Okay. Let me tell you this. How many Christians? We're talking about staying home now. I'm going to get on to you about that. How many Christians in Oregon are registered to vote? What percentage of Christians in Oregon are registered to vote? Too few. That's right. How many? Just guess. Give me. 50% is exactly right. 50%. Only 50% of Christians in Oregon are registered to vote. How many of those registered Christians actually vote?
35.
10%,
40? 45.
Depends if they go to
49.
church.
50%. 50% of Christians are not registered to vote. 50% of the Christians who are registered don't even bother to vote.
So that's only 25%.
You got it. That was my next question. 25% of Christians are voting. You wonder why we can't win an election in Oregon? Because only 25% of Christians, they're staying at home. All right? I would suggest that it's better to get out and vote to get the maximum number of lives saved than to sit home on our principles and let the house burn down with all 10 people. That's what's happening.
You have an
That's what's
obligation.
happening.
It's a moral obligation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, understand it? Go ahead.
How do we get the rest of them?
How you get the rest of the vote? What you do is you get some voters' registration forms and you put it in their face with a pen and say, would you like to fill this out and register to vote? And you can do that as a private citizen. You don't have to be any special thing. Just tell them to fill it out and send it in. It's really simple. It's not that difficult. You can do voter registration in churches. Not a problem. Send them, get them on there. Make it happen. Pardon?
How many of those Christians that are registered actually attend church?
How many? Yeah, only 5%. That's one of our problems, that there are not many Christians in Oregon. A lot of spiritual people, but not many Christians, right? All right. So, but we actually have, I did the math years ago, there are actually enough Christians in Oregon, because so few people actually vote in Oregon, that there are enough Christians in Oregon that if every Christian voted, well, let me get to the rest of it. How many of those Christians who vote, 25%, vote pro-choice to kill babies?
About 12%.
They vote Democrat.
1%?
No, higher.
40%. 40% of Christians, and it doesn't make any difference if you're Catholic, Protestant, or Orthodox, 40% of Christians in Oregon vote pro-choice to kill babies. 40%. That's why we don't win elections in Oregon. Okay? Only 25% vote, and 40% of those vote pro-choice to kill babies. All right? We got some work to do. All right? Go ahead.
What reason do they?
Yeah, it won't do any good. That's right, and it won't do any good. You know why? Because everybody's staying at home, say it won't do any good. So that's our job. We take the voter registrations to the people. We get them to vote. Are you registered to vote? No, good. I don't believe in voting. Well, take a book free, you know. Have them read a book about why voting is important for a Christian. It's not an option. If you're not voting and you're not voting for God's priority of life, you're in sin. Okay? Just in sin, because you're just like this, I mean, You're just like this guy over here, you know, with the gun. Wayne's holding the gun to Mary's head. Well, I'm not really voting to kill her. I'm just voting for this other stuff I want over here. That doesn't work. By voting for the stuff you want over here, you are by default letting him kill her. And you are letting the abortionists kill the babies by voting for those pro-choice candidates, even if you're voting for other reasons. Now, there's a great thing in Exodus 21 about the ox-gore rule. I don't know if you are familiar with that. The book talks about it. But it talks about a man who has an ox, and the ox goes around and gores people. And the first scenario is one that is just an accident. One time, never happened before. You kill somebody, and so the owner gets punished. But guess what happens if this ox is going around killing people, and he's known to be this bad dude ox that's going around killing people, and the owner knows it, and the ox kills somebody, guess what happens to the owner?
He's culpable.
He's put to death. He is held liable for that killing of the ox. So unintentional homicide is held as murder by God in that scenario. He didn't want him to kill the person, but by his negligence in not caring enough about the life of another to do something, God held that man culpable for the death, even though it was through the ox.
And that's in Exodus?
That's in Exodus 21. Yep, the ox gore. It's in the book. Yeah, get a book. They're $5. I mean, you know, I'm giving them away.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
That's right. Well, America was blessed for many years because we did honor God. And guess what? We throw out the Bible. We throw out prayer from schools. We just blaspheme God's name around. And, you know, I mean, we're going to get judged. It's just all that's going to happen. So let me give you this one. It's a good thing about the economy. Let me give you this one. I have a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, a Tea Party, anything else you want to put over here. And they're all pro-choice to kill babies. Every one of them. Every one of them wants to kill babies. And I have a communist over here who's pro-life.
Oh, man.
Is that possible? Yeah. I mean. Okay, we're living in Russia.
They want to bring back babies. They need to bring back babies in Russia.
Do we have communists in America today?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we do.
I think there's
Yeah, we do.
a few in the White House or something. I'm not sure.
And right in one of our cities.
Yeah, there are communists there. And certainly they're severe socialists, all right? So I think, I mean, it was kind of like Will Smith when he went over to France and talking about how great it was, all these social programs and everything, and blah, 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 blah. And then they tell him, you know, do you know what your taxes would be over here? And he goes, no. He said, it'd be 90% taxes in France. He goes, God bless America. All right? But, I mean, all these over here pro-choice to kill babies, over here pro-life to save life. Who am I going to vote? It all depends on your priority. Right? It all depends on your priority. If God's priority is life, then I have to forget about my pocketbook. I have to forget about everything else. I have to say, life is the most important thing. If you don't have a right to life, you've got nothing. If you've got all this and the world gets destroyed, if people lose their lives, I've got to vote life. So I have to throw away everything else. I've got to vote life. Now, is that single issue voting?
Yeah.
It is. Is it simplistic? It's very rational. It's very defensible because we're going with the priority, God's priority of life. It's really not that difficult a choice. I don't want to vote for a communist. I am very anti-communist, anti-socialist. But I will if I am forced to choose between pro-choice and pro-life. It's really not that difficult.
That was easy.
You know,
No,
it
that
really
was
is
hard.
that
That was
easy.
hard.
That was easy.
No, that was hard.
That was easy.
No, because communism is anti-God.
It is, and that came up in the last session. And what happens to all the churches? And the people are they'll persecute the churches, and it'll be a mess, right?
But they'll kill you, but they'll let you have life. I mean, let you have your babies, but they'll kill you because.
Right.
Huh.
What happened in China when they persecuted the church?
It flourished.
It flourished. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. That's what happens because people realize this is serious business. And I am one to say, I think we're not far away in America from some persecution happening. We're not being martyred yet, but there is definitely persecution happening. The CEO of Moxilla
Yep.
had to step down. You guys know the stories.
Oh, yeah.
They are persecuting Christians who stand up for moral values now, right? So we can just expect that. So yes, I would even vote for a communist. I hate to say that, but I would. And that's why. That's why it's easy. Not because I want to, but because if my priority is really life, if I'm going to put my action where my mouth is, what I say I'm going to do, I must vote pro-life, period. That's the priority. All right,
You're kind
questions?
of voting on principle too yourself.
It's not a principle, it's a priority
Well,
of life.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say. Yes, Gail?
Well, I'm gonna.
You know,
okay.
you're right. If we're in America, a communist is not going to win. I wouldn't vote for him because it's not going to happen. I mean, you know, there's no chance of winning. And so here's the other question. We've got a candidate we got two candidates here. They're both pro-choice to kill babies. One says, let's kill all the old people, people with terminal cancer. You know, let's get rid of all the useless people, the non-productive people. And you've got another pro-choice to kill babies candidate over here, but he says, you know, I'm getting older, and I don't think that's a good idea to kill the old people. Okay, they're both pro-choice for abortion to kill babies, but one's against euthanasia and one's for euthanasia. Now, what do you do in that situation? The lesser of two evils.
home?
Stay home. Okay, we got stay home and lesser of two evils. Okay, how many people would stay home? How many people would vote for the lesser of two evils? Most of you. Okay?
What if they lied?
Pardon?
What if they lied?
What if they lied? Well, I mean, it's a politician. You know they're lying. The lips are moving. You know they're lying. That's not quite true. I obviously exaggerating. I actually don't consider it the lesser of two evils. I think that's a negative way to view the situation. How do I consider it if I have to vote pro-choice, if I'm voting for a pro-choice candidate, not because he's pro-choice, but to save lives? If I vote for this person, I save 0 lives. If I vote for this one over here who's against euthanasia, I can save hundreds a year in Oregon by voting for this person, right? So am I voting for the lesser of two evil, or am I voting to save lives? Am I voting the priority of life?
Yes.
I'm voting the priority of life. I'm not voting because they're pro-choice to kill babies. I'm just getting in that house and saving as many babies as I can possibly save. That's not the lesser of two evils, saving life. So that's the way I view that. I don't think it's worth arguing, but I think the lesser of two evils is sometimes overdone.
So what do you,
Yep.
you say instead of lesser of two evils?
I'm voting the priority of life. Save as many lives as possible. That's the goal. Save as many lives as possible. All right. Any questions on that? So we've kind of talked about how pro-life must a candidate be. You know, he has to be at least, you know, everything but rape and incest. You know, you have to give that. What about the? Well, we've kind of gone over that. The electable versus non-electable, we've discussed that. Any questions on that? Is there anybody that really feels committed, I have to vote for 100% and can't vote for anybody else? I've run into that quite a bit. I mean, there are people out there that are Christians that absolutely say, I can't vote except it's 100%. So now we've got all these liberal Supreme Court justices because he wasn't pro-life enough for them, so we're going to kill millions of more babies as a result. Yeah. That's a very good example. Some people didn't vote because he wasn't pro-life enough. Some people didn't vote for him because he was Mormon.
Oh, yeah.
Just that simple. I don't agree with him. That's wrong stuff. We won't have a Mormon president. Well, I don't care if he's communist. You know, if he's voting pro-life, we need to vote for the guy. I didn't like either candidate. I'll be honest. And I publicly went on record saying that and got in trouble for it.
There was other choices, but you knew they weren't gonna win.
That's
Ones that were
exactly-
pro-life,
That's exactly right.
Like Rand Paul, or
Yeah.
Ron Paul.
Yeah.
He was pro-life.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a chance in hell.
That's right. And I mean,
He's one
you're,
of those ones that runs on principles he was talking about.
yeah. And principles will kill you, a prisoner of principle. So we can't do that. Okay, any other questions on those?
What about priests that are voting Democratic?
I don't care if priest votes Democrat as long as they're pro-life Democrats.
What if they're not?
I mean, Kevin Mannix was a pro-life Democrat for years, you know. Absolutely, I'd vote for Kevin. I don't care if he's a Republican, Democrat, or communist. If he's voting pro-life, I'm going to vote for Kevin, okay? What if that priest is encouraging you to vote for somebody who is pro-choice to kill babies. I think Pope John Paul II had a few things to say about that. He said our involvement must be political. He said that you are complicit if you're voting, and we have to vote appropriately. He made some very specific statements on the politics of that. And I don't know, I mean, you can talk to Father Pavone about this and see his inside view, but it's just not appropriate. You know, it's just not, you can't defend it in any sense.
What about priests who don't even comment about how you should vote as a Catholic?
Right. I go over that in the moral mandate to vote, and that's the reason we're still in trouble in America, because priests and pastors have separated religious duty from politics. And there's I've got a whole chapter on that discussing why that happened and how to solve the problem. But that is a misnomer. It all started with Lyndon B. Johnson from Texas, who put a rider on a bill that shut down supporting any candidate as a 501c3 organization. It was never voted on by the U.S. Congress. It was simply stuck in by Johnson, and that's the worst thing he ever did. I'm going to get me preaching here, but anyway. Yes, go ahead. It's a really tough situation now, you're right. And a third party just doesn't have enough oomph to go now. That's the problem. You know, we had a governor here. Well, in fact, Kevin's own vote. You know how many votes Kevin lost the election by back?
33,000.
It was a few thousand votes, you know. And you know why he lost?
Tom Cox.
There was a third party candidate in there. That's why, who didn't have a chance. And you know what the combined vote for that candidate and Kevin was? 54%. 54%. He could have won the election if that guy wouldn't have run. We've got to get off our high horses and start thinking pragmatically about how to save lives. That's the point.
Why doesn't
Okay.
he run again?
Kevin told me at lunch he was not going to run for state office again. But I'm sure he reserves the right to change his mind, because things could get so bad he'd feel compelled to run, and I don't blame him. I mean, yeah, sometimes you gotta do it. So is voting pro-choice always a sin?
If you do it because of that,
Well-
if you vote because he's pro-choice.
Very good, Molly. If you're voting because he's pro-choice, that's absolutely a sin. What if you don't vote for him because he's pro-choice, but because you want these other things that he's supporting? Is that a sin?
Depends if someone else is running. That's not.
Yeah, that's right. If there's no other choice, and you've got the, euthanasia versus abortion, right. But if you're voting for him because you want these other things, even if he's pro-choice and there's an alternative, that's sin, no question about it. Okay, yes?
Life always has to take precedent. Life always has to be your number one.
Absolutely. Life is the priority.
You don't have any choice.
Voting life is always the priority.
Single voters out there
Yeah.
who vote their pocketbook.
Yep. That's exactly right. So it's not always a sin. There are times where we can come up with that, where we can say we have to push priority voting, not single issue voting. It's not naive. It's not simplistic. It's defensible. It's rational. It's the right thing to do. It's God's priority. And if we're going to follow Christ, we have to vote God's priority. I think that's pretty easy, right?
That was easy.
Not a difficult concept. All right, any other questions before we? I don't know who you're referring as far as where they're calculating it and that sort of
Not
thing.
gonna
So
say how many abortions in Oregon you've
Oh, no, those-
counting those as
no, they're not counting those. This is from the Public Health Service, and it's only medical abortions, not pill type stuff. Yeah, just the medical ones. Yep. That's possible. It certainly could be going down. On the other hand, there's no question that the youth are starting to get it, that the message is getting through, and they are becoming more pro-life. The statistics clearly show that. So it might be contributing, but I don't think that's all the answer. I think we're winning the battle. As the Archbishop said, we've got the science on our side. It's indisputable, and the young people are getting it. So, yeah. Joan, we're done. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.